What's good and welcome in. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Appreciate all of you for supporting the show. Coming your way, Philadelphia Eagles signing Ndamukong Suh. A lot of injury news that we have to talk about. So we're going to open up the floor to answer some of your questions. And we start off with one of our more loyal subscribers who's always getting that comment section going during our live shows. It is Carapool. Did you see that they're cross-training Cam Jurgens at guard? Yes, I did see that, Kara, and it makes a lot of sense because at Nebraska, he did have experience playing center as well as guard. I hope that Jason Kelce doesn't retire anytime soon, but let's be realistic about it, that at some point in the near future, Jason Kelce is going to call it a career, and it's an Eagles Ring of Honor Hall of Fame career. It's an NFL Hall of Fame career. He's one of the all-time Philadelphia athletes in the history of sports in this town. But at some point, his football career is going to come to an end. And the guy that reminds me a lot of him is the guy who Jason Kelce told Howie Roseman to draft in the 2022 NFL draft. That is Cam Jurgens. And if you watch him during the preseason, we talked about it here on the show, he has that center pool ability out in space to get to that second and third level to block downfield. That's very reminiscent of Kelce. Let's hope that Kelce has a couple more years left in the tank, but if he doesn't, I feel very confident in Jurgens. And if Kelce does play into the future, that's why him cross-training at guard is pretty important. John Galt with another question here. What is the word on Dallas Goedert? So, John Galt, Dallas Goedert is on IR. That means that he has to miss at least the next 4 games for Philadelphia at minimum. Now, they've changed those IR rules over time, but now if you go on IR, just like Jordan Davis, like any player out there, short-term IR, you have to miss at least 4 weeks. So starting this week, that'll be the first week that he has to miss of 4, and then beyond that, he could be injured because it is considered to be a serious shoulder injury for him. Lion Fighter X, a.k.a. LFX, do you think that Ndamukong Suh will have a good attitude in the locker room? Look, a lot of people are really concerned about Ndamukong Suh and him not being a cultural fit in this Eagles locker room. I have trust, I have faith that the Eagles have the right leaders inside the locker room for this to not be a problem. You think that there aren't big personalities in the other 31 locker rooms in the NFL? There are, and there are guys who are difficult to deal with, and you don't hang out with everybody on a 53-man roster as well as the practice squad, just like I at Chat Sports don't hang out with everybody that I work with, and you don't hang out with everybody that you work with. So it isn't really a big concern for me because you have guys like Brandon Grant. You have a leader like Lane Johnson. You have veterans in that locker room, a good culture builder in Nick Sirianni, a young guy in Jalen Hurts who's really taken the locker room by storm. I love what C.J. Gardner-Johnson has brought to the table in that regard as well. And Suh is a great player, and that's what should matter at the end of the day, that everywhere he's been, this guy has been very, very successful. If you're pumped up about Howie Roseman pulling this off again and signing Ndamukong Suh, I want you just to type NS in the comment section if you're pumped about one of the best defensive tackles to ever play, named to the 2010s All-Decade team to be rocking that midnight green. Kryptone is next up. What's up, Kryptone? I'm really hoping that Tyree Jackson ends up being a Mailata-type diamond-in-the-rough guy. What say you, Chase? Tyree Jackson has so much ability. This is a guy who has height. He has a huge wingspan. He has great athleticism. Otherwise, he wouldn't have played quarterback the way that he did at Buffalo, where he was actually a pretty good quarterback at the college level with a cannon for an arm. Last year in training camp, he was second among all tight ends in targets, receptions, and touchdowns in training camp. And that was with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert still being on the roster. The word out of the NovaCare complex, from what I've heard and from what the speculation out there is that this guy has unlimited potential, and it was really unfortunate that he suffered that torn ACL late last year, because if he didn't, he could have been another weapon in that Eagles pass game. So he could be a diamond-in-the-rough guy and a guy who is a fascinating player development story, like Mailata as an Australian rugby player and Tyree Jackson, that converted quarterback. Cool Rains, what's good, Cool Rains? Thanks for getting that question in, that comment in. Which running back are you fearing the most that we have to play? Well, there are some really good ones who are coming up for Philadelphia. This is the slate for a rushing defense that has struggled mightily. You still have to face Jonathan Taylor. You still have to take on Aaron Jones. You're playing King Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley appears twice on the schedule. And Tony Pollard is on here because he's the better running back as compared to Ezekiel Elliott. And that's why it was paramount for Howie Roseman in Philly to address defensive tackle, because you have to shore up the ground defense. Otherwise, you're going to get ousted early in the playoffs, and your playoff seeding from here on out until the end of the regular season could be impacted greatly. If you want to bet on this Eagles-Colts game on Sunday, there's no better place to do it than our sportsbook partner, BetUS. They're offering a 125% deposit bonus if you head to chatsports.com/EaglesBet and enter the promo code Eagles125. The Eagles, 7-point favorites in Indianapolis against the Jeff Saturday-led Indianapolis Colts. The over-under for this football game set at 44.5. I think the Eagles win, but I think it's going to be like a 4, 5, 6-point game. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet, promo code Eagles125. And we will be doing a watch party, as we've continued to talk about, for this game against the Colts. And during that watch party, we will be announcing the winner for this free Brian Dawkins autographed helmet. There are a couple of steps that you need to follow, though. First, head to chatsports.com/Valley Brothers. You follow them on their Facebook page, Valley Brothers Collectibles. Then you comment, Eagles Now, on the Brian Dawkins post on their Facebook page. You have to be subscribed to us here at Philadelphia Eagles Now, and we'll announce a winner during our Sunday watch party, probably around the third quarter. So if you want a signed Brian Dawkins helmet, who is my favorite player of all time, and one of the best players defensively in the history of the NFL, follow those steps. We'll announce a winner during our watch party on Sunday. Another donation coming in from Flippin' the Bird 85. His reaction to the Eagles signing Ndamukong Suh, yeah! And that's what a lot of people's reaction was across the Delaware Valley and across the world, as the Eagles Now family is worldwide. Ernesto Ojeda, who needs to step up from any position before the Colts game? Well, it has to be defensive line. I'm going to talk about Fletcher Cox here. I think he's the player who really needs to step up. And do we have Cox's numbers over the last couple of games on that list logo? Because he is being paid top 10 defensive tackle money, yet Fletcher Cox is not playing up to the standard or living up to the standard. He has struggled a lot the last couple of games, and in fact, he's been one of the worst defensive tackles in the NFL, and that's problematic because he's making so much money, and his production has been limited. He's not getting hits on the quarterback. He's not generating pressures, and obviously with him being on the roster playing 70 snaps against the Commanders, he too is struggling against the ground game. So that's who I think needs to step up because of what he's getting paid, his pedigree, and his following as a player. Fletcher Cox is my answer. If we don't have that trace, it's all good. We'll get to it in another video. So Ernesto Ojeda, I do appreciate that question. This one's coming in from JP. First-time listener, you're doing a great job, and I will subscribe. JP. If you're coming across this show for the first time and you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Like JP, we give you videos every single day on the Philadelphia Eagles, news, rumors, analysis, all 22 live shows and watch parties. We do appreciate the Fly Eagles Fly family for supporting everything that we do. And Ndamukong Suh got signed by the Birds. We went live right away. That is the standard. And if you want to interact with me on social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I made it simple for everybody out there. It's the same handle on both social media platforms.